Hi there, Pam from Weymouth Food Pantry. I'm so glad you could join us. We have a wonderful lineup tonight because it is breakfast for dinner. Usually one of my best because it's just great comfort food and it's quick and easy, and if you've had a rough day or somebody else in your household has had a rough day, it's a good way to cheer them up. So why don't you tell us a little bit about what we're going to be doing tonight, Pat?
I shall. We're going to be using a lot of leftovers that each of us have had in our fridges, and we're going to just combine a bunch of stuff. We're going to do frittatas, concentrating on the little type of frittata muffins that we do for our pop-up clients on Saturdays when we can. Serve breakfast, it's always a popular thing, so we're going to do some of those with various ingredients and flavors. We're going to do things with potatoes. Brian's going to do potato latkes. We're going to do some toppings on those. I'm going to show you how to make quick home fries, easy home fries, a microwave version, and we're going to finish with savory and sweet crepes.
Sounds delicious. So this is episode 10. I can't believe we made it this far.
Yes.
Kudos to us. But if you haven't figured it out by now, I'm always telling everybody how wonderful Pat is when it comes to cooking, and she does have her own business, Patricia's Palate. So look her up if you need anything. And Brian is our resident chef. He's always in the kitchen, happy to lend a hand. This is not his day job, but hell, it should be. So we look forward to it. Let's get cooking.
Let's go.
Tonight we're making homemade potato latkes, which is a Jewish dish that is served during Passover. So tonight we have 2 large russet potatoes. And what we've done, we did ours on a food processor with a grating blade, or if you have a regular triangle grater or a piece of wax paper or a plate, you can leave the skin on, you can peel it, and then just grate it till you've got these shoestring consistency potatoes. So these potatoes have a lot of moisture in them, and if we try and fry these right now, they'll just fall apart and turn to mush. So we take a nice clean dish towel, and we're gonna squeeze the living daylights out of this to get all the moisture out. It's amazing how much moisture these potatoes are gonna hold, and you can splatter all over the place or whatever you wanna do. It's kind of fun. Pat, can you get me another clean bowl? We'll put the dried potatoes in that.
Absolutely.
You can just see how much moisture is in here. Okay, so that's one. And then we repeat. This is about, like I said, 2 large russet potatoes. The moisture content in these is probably the best one to use. You can do that. And then we repeat. Oops, let's put them right back in the other potatoes. So you have to use whole potatoes to make the latkes. You can't use leftover mashed potatoes or anything like that, because those would be potato cakes, and you need this consistency to make the nice crispy haystacks, if you will, that we're gonna make. All right, almost there.
That is key to get all that moisture out.
All right. Pat, how about a paper towel? I can clean up my mess.
I absolutely will do that for you, Brian.
Okay. So, there's our dried potato sticks. And now we have 2 tablespoons of all-purpose flour.
Now, if you were making those for Passover, this is where you would substitute matzah meal.
Matzah meal, yep. 2 tablespoons of flour, 2 large eggs, and these we're putting scallions in. You could use red onion, yellow onion, Vidalia onion, whatever you have in your refrigerator is just fine. A pinch of salt and a pinch of pepper. So, we're gonna throw our eggs in, our flour, and I'm just gonna get down and dirty with this with my hands.
Yep, that's the
Get
best
this all
way.
mixed up.
Clean hands are almost always the best mixing implement.
Just like our very first episode, we said we're never not washing our hands in the kitchen.
Always clean hands in the kitchen. You're just really throwing things around
Oh
tonight.
yeah, I'm getting
right?
into it tonight. All right, well, my hands are dirty. You can come in and throw some scallions and a pinch of salt and pepper in.
Sure will.
So the egg and the flour in these potatoes is gonna help bind it when we put it in the hot saute pan. It's gonna help it keep that nice round cake form that we're looking for. And then the scallions also add a nice color. All right, quick rinse of my hands and
You'll be ready to roll.
in our saute pan we have about a tablespoon of butter and a half a tablespoon of vegetable oil. You could use olive oil. Some recipes call for clarified butter, but we're taking it easy tonight and just using vegetable and whole butter. So we got our tongs, our plastic spatula, and we go over to the oil. Our oil is starting to sizzle. So we're just gonna do a couple of small mounds like that. You don't want them too thick because they won't cook in the middle. You want to flatten them out so they cook evenly all the way through. You don't want to crowd the pan because that'll cool the pan off and the potato cakes will become greasy. So we leave it. We don't move it around because they're just going to fall apart. What we're waiting for is a nice brown golden crust to form on the other side. When that happens, we flip them over and we go to the other side. We've been sizzling away for about 3 to 4 minutes on one side, and you can see they're holding together. When we slide our saute pan around, they're staying nice and tight because that flour and egg binded everything. We'll give them a quick flip, and we got a nice crunchy crust on the other side. But yet, because we made them thin enough, everything's gonna be cooked through right in the middle. So, another 3 minutes on this side, and these puppies are all done.
One of the things that's really popular at our Saturday morning pop-ups here at Old South is hot muffin frittatas. And we're gonna make some for you today, and we're gonna twist them up with lots of different ingredients in. At our normal pop-ups breakfast, a big favorite is just bacon and cheddar cheese. Sometimes, like today, we're gonna make some sausage, pepper, and onions with cheddar cheese. Another big favorite is broccoli with cheddar cheese. We're gonna make a few of those today. We're also gonna make some spinach and feta cheese today. So we're gonna twist them up, make a few of everything. So I'm gonna give you the basic recipe. And what I tell people that come into the kitchen or when they ask, it's 3 parts eggs to 1 part half and half. And if you don't wanna use half and half, you can use milk, but we kinda make them rich for the occasion, for once, every once in a while. So 3 parts eggs. In this case, we have 2.5 cups of eggs. And that's about 10 eggs, and then a little over a half a cup of half and half. I'm gonna pour those all together because we've scrambled the eggs already. And we're just gonna whisk away to mix the cream, the half and half, with the eggs. Now, at this point, if you didn't want to make them right away, what we do also is we put them in big jars. We make them like 2 gallons at a time. You can make the mixture, the egg mixture, up to 2 days. And after 2 days, they will not last. So you can scramble your eggs, keep them in the refrigerator for 2 days, and then add your half and half or your milk right before you scramble. You can also make these, bake them off, and put them in the refrigerator for a few days. You can also freeze them. But they're really best after they puff up, right after they come out of the oven. So that's step 1. We've scrambled our eggs. We've put in 10 eggs, which yields about 2.5 cups of scrambled eggs, and then, as I say, a little over half a cup of half and half. And that's gonna yield us about 12 muffin tin frittatas. Second step. The thing that's really important is to overspray the muffin tins. You do not want the frittatas to stick. You can't have enough oil, pretty much, in these muffin tins. We don't want them to stick. We want them to fly right out. And for pop-ups, we make like 150 of these a morning. So they're very popular. But again, you can switch these up any way you want them. You can, again, you can eliminate the half and half. You can go with skim milk. It's just that they're richer this way. And don't be afraid of your ingredients. This is a great way to use leftovers in your refrigerator. Whatever's hanging around, if you've got, you have meatloaf left over, you could grind up a little meatloaf, and whatever cheese is hanging around, just use what you have to make a very interesting muffin frittata. Now we're gonna pour them. And we are going to fill them about 3/4 full. We wanna leave a little room for our filling, so we don't wanna overfill. And I generally don't season the egg mixture because usually the fillings have been seasoned. And if you're using bacon or if you're using sausage, there's a lot of sodium in those products anyway, so there's no need to over salt any of these things. We're just gonna keep filling them. And as I said, this is just about gonna turn out right. 10 large eggs to just a half a cup of cream. Okay, so let's go in, let's put some broccoli. So we've used some broccoli today. Today we're using a frozen broccoli. I just made sure that the liquid, the moisture is out of it after it's defrosted. You can use fresh broccoli too. You would want to steam it and then again squeeze out the moisture. So you don't want to add a lot more liquid to these frittatas. You want the egg and the cheese to solidify. So now we're going to move on and we're going to put a little of our sausage, pepper, and onions in our cups. And whatever, if you have red peppers hanging around, if you don't, again, we can use bacon, whatever you got around, that's a good thing. And then we squeezed out some spinach, and so we're gonna use a little, with clean hands here, we're gonna use a little fresh spinach that we squeezed out the moisture. And then the last thing we're gonna do, and this is fresh spinach, but you can again use frozen spinach. Just make sure you squeeze out all of the moisture.
And if you use fresh spinach, do you have to steam it or blanch it? Can it just go in?
You need to saute it or blanch it, yes. So this spinach was sauteed in a little oil with some seasoning, whatever you like, whatever you got, kind of thing. So we're gonna add feta cheese to our spinach because that's just a nice combination. Just a nice little marriage of flavors. Kind of Mediterranean, Middle Eastern. And then, because I had it, we're gonna use some cheddar cheese for the rest of ours. Mound it right up. You're not gonna mix anything. It's gonna mix on its own in the oven. Brian has already got the oven set on 375. That's a temperature that works here. At home, you want to play around with these. You can use 350 to 375, and you want to cook them just for about 15 minutes until they puff up and are golden brown. You don't want them to cook too much on the tops or the bottoms. You want the egg and the mixture and the fillings to all be very tender. So now we're going to throw them in the oven. I'm going to talk to you about how to make home fried potatoes the easy way. And with this, you can use leftover potatoes. If you've got baked potatoes left over, or if you've got, you know, a roasting potato, whatever you have, you can use for this. It's in the fridge, or if it's not. So these were Red Bliss. I always have Red Bliss hanging around. So what I did was I put them in a bowl and I put them in the microwave for about 3 or 4 minutes to make them soft. This is gonna speed up the cooking. So we're gonna have less on the back end, and that just 3 or 4 minutes soften these potatoes. So now's the fun part. We get to smash them.
Whack-a-mole.
Whack-a-mole. Okay?
This is a good recipe
is a
for the
good-
day you get your oil will or something.
That's right. So
Gosh
then
darn
we're
it.
gonna take them off of our towel. We used a nice clean towel, and I'm gonna use my handy chef's knife and cut them into chunks. So there's gonna be like some little crispy bits, and there's gonna be some chunky hunks, and then we're gonna put them in a skillet with some hot oil. And I like onions, so I'm adding onions to mine. This happens to just be a Spanish onion. You could use scallions. You could use whatever onion you have. You can leave them out. Sometimes I put garlic in. Sometimes I'll put fresh herbs in. Tonight I'm gonna use a little Italian seasoning with a little salt and pepper, and we're gonna crisp these up, and this will be a side dish for our muffin cup frittatas. So we probably got about 3 tablespoons of vegetable oil here. You can use whatever oil you've got, but that is nice and hot, and we've got our pre-cooked spuds. You're gonna hear them sizzle. We're gonna spread them out in the pan and just let them kind of crisp up. Let them sit there for a bit and get some crusty brown bits on them. And then we're gonna add a little bit of salt, a little bit of pepper, and some Italian seasoning, because I didn't have any garlic tonight. So we're throwing in a little Italian seasoning here. And then towards the end, I'm gonna put the onion in. I don't wanna add the onion too soon because I don't want it to burn to a crisp. And if you were putting garlic in, the same thing. Don't put your garlic in too soon. It'll burn and it'll be bitter to taste. You can see it's already starting to brown. And you can see that we've already got these little crispy bits going on here. I'm going to leave it on high for a little bit longer because I like the browning effect here. But when I get ready to put the onion in, then I'm going to turn it down to a medium flame so that those onions don't completely burn. I'm sorry, but I'm one that really likes potatoes with eggs. Anybody with me?
I like potatoes and everything.
I know.
I just need an excuse.
All right, we're gonna let these hang for a little bit. We're gonna take a quick break. So our potatoes been hanging out and crisping up for about 3, 4, 5 minutes. I've turned the heat down. We're gonna put in the onions, and I'm gonna just stir those around. And it's not gonna take long because we just want those to become translucent and a little crispy. So they don't need much time in the pan at all. Just move them around a little bit. These are good with scallions too. If you had chives from your garden, you could use chives. And like I said, you can leave onions out completely if you're not an onion person. You can put peppers in these too and make sort of a, a more healthy version of these. Add anything that you have. We always say what you've got, use what you like in flavor, use those flavors. Okay, we're done. So these muffin frittatas have baked off for about 14, 15 minutes. We use 375 today, and we've got one oven that's a little hotter. So that's why I say it's important for you to just use your oven that you know works for you. And I would start out at 350 for about 11, 12 minutes, check them. You don't want them to get too brown on either the top or the bottom, as I said. And now, if you're making a big batch like this, we're gonna see if the method worked or not. We're gonna flip them over. Ta-da! now we're gonna flip them over. Don't they look pretty, and they smell very good. And they're so easy to make. And this you can have for breakfast, you can have for brunch, you can have for lunch, and you can have breakfast for dinner. And there we go.
Moving on to our homemade crepes, or crepes as Pat likes to say. Some people call these a French pancake. They're a lot thinner than a pancake, more pastry-like. I like them better than pancakes, they're a lot lighter.
So do I.
Yeah, so we're starting off with 1 cup of flour, all-purpose flour, 2 whole eggs, and what we're gonna do first is get in there and mix this up first. The eggs, again, are gonna help bind this. Then we're gonna add, we have a cup of milk, and we're gonna add that with some water. And these are gonna be sweet crepes, so we're gonna mix in some sugar. And we're also gonna have some savory crepes. We have sauteed turkey, we have caramelized peppers. You can do anything you want, whatever you have in your fridge.
We could
It's
even
endless.
use that pepper and sausage and onion mix that we made for those frittatas.
Yep, you could do a shrimp scampi crepe with
yeah.
diced up shrimp and garlic butter sauce on top for a nice Saturday evening date night.
And Brian's, the way he's doing this, he's careful not to add too much liquid too quickly. Otherwise, that would be all lumpy. And so he did the flour and the eggs first, and then gradually added the liquid so that it won't be too lumpy.
When I was little, my mom used to make these, and we just used to sprinkle sugar and cinnamon and roll them up
Yep.
in lemon juice.
Yep,
So they can be as fancy or as plain.
yep, we did butter and jelly and rolled them up when we were kids, and we thought we were in heaven. So, 2 tablespoons of melted butter. That's gonna give it some fat, and it's also, when we saute these, it's gonna help these crepes not stick to the pan because the butter's already in the crepe. So we've got a good consistency. Now we wanna concentrate on thinning this out. If it's too thick in the pan, the crepe's gonna be, it's not gonna cook all the way through, and it's gonna be more like a pancake and not a nice thin crepe. So we've got a 1/2 to 1/3 a cup of water, and we're gonna add this a little bit at a time. And basically, this is gonna be by sight on how thin we want this. So just keep whisking until we get the right consistency. And while we're doing this, because it's a sweet crepe, we're gonna add 1/2 teaspoon of salt, sugar. That you would omit if you were making savory crepes. You would add salt and pepper to that instead. So it's still a little on the thick side. I'm gonna add a little bit more water.
Consistency's getting there, Brian.
I think we're there. No more lumps. Maybe a touch more. Okay. Now we're ready to saute. So to our saute pan, for the first crepe we make, we added a 1/2 tablespoon of butter just to coat this pan to keep anything from sticking. And we're gonna add about 2 to 3 ounces of our crepe mix. And this is the crucial part. A lot of people think you should just add this right in the middle. What you wanna do is add it to the sides and then roll it.
That's the Jacques Pepin method.
And once the first one's done, the pan is seasoned, and then the butter in here is gonna keep it nice and keep from sticking. So we don't touch it, we let it sit and saute. If we try to move it, it's gonna clump up and turn into cottage cheese looking effect. So once that's set up, this thing's gonna start to slide around, and we'll know it's time to flip it. You can use a spatula if you like to kind of take a little peek at the color. It's gonna turn nice golden brown. As you can see, it's starting to already release from the pan. Or once it starts doing that, you know you're getting close. A little more, we're gonna get a nice brown color on it before we flip it. If you want, you can use tongs to flip it. If you wanna get a little adventurous, you can just flip it like that.
Chef Brian, look at him go.
A couple more minutes on that side and the first crepe is done, and we just repeat the process. That slides right onto a piece of wax paper. And then again, about 2 to 3 ounces. We're going to start from the side and let that thing just form our circle and shake it around. If you get a little hole in the middle, just fill it in, that's fine. Doesn't have to be perfectly round. We're going to roll these up and stuff them anyway. Plus it looks more homemade and rustic, I think, anyway. Again, we wait, let this brown up a little bit on the bottom, and we know it's time to flip. Not quite ready. You can see it's just about there. Again, if you put too much crepe mix in, it's going to be too thick and it's not going to be cooked in the middle. The thinner, the better. Again, if you don't want to do the flip method with the pan itself, you can just use a pair of tongs. Just like that. And we'll keep making crepes until they're done. We'll get ready to stuff them.
We're going to make a topping for some of our sweet crepes. And it was actually, this particular topping is for crepes Suzettes. And this was actually a mistake. It was never supposed to be. There are a couple of different fables, myths, actual, probably the real story, but somewhere in between. This is a sauce that's made with a sugary caramelized syrup and orange juice, lots of butter, sugar, and orange zest. And in the case of one of the tales, the crepes Suzettes was named after a girl who was a guest of the Prince of Wales, who in 1895 went on to be Prince Edward VII of England. And the chef had a mishap. He screwed something up in the kitchen and he didn't have time to remake it. And all these liqueurs and oranges and spices ended up in the sauce. And the Prince of Wales loved it so much, they named it after the guest, the little French girl that was at the table, and her name was Suzette. So we're gonna make a variation of crepe Suzette. We are not adding Grand Marnier or cognac or brandy, we're just making a simple orange butter sauce. So I put all the sugar, the orange juice, the orange zest, lots of butter and sugar, and we are just kind of letting that reduce and thicken a little bit. I'm gonna turn the heat up. And we'll let that thicken up a little bit. And when it's done, we will have a topping with some suprême or segmented oranges for one of our toppings for our sweet crepes.
Welcome back, everybody. Feast is now spread. It looks amazing. I can't wait to tuck in. And we have a special guest with us tonight,
Yes, we do.
Miss Anne-Marie Coyle.
Yay!
She's like our food pantry celebrity because everybody always recognizes her wherever she goes.
Lucky me.
Anne-Marie has been with the food pantry for many years. She runs our pop-up pantries. She's on site at every distribution. So I think that's why everybody knows her.
That's how everyone knows me.
All our volunteers and all of our neighbors who come to us and all of our neighbors who are making donations.
That's right.
So welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
We're delighted.
What can we pass you first?
I need to try the potatoes because that happens to be one of my favorites. So I'm going to put a little of that on my plate.
There we go. I think I'm going to tuck into an egg muffin.
Muffin.
I'm gonna start with the latkes. I love them.
I don't know how we usually do this.
Nope.
Do we
It's a
just
free-for-all.
It's a
Just go
free
for
for
it.
all.
And this
All
is
right, so
the
I'll have a little bit of everything.
This is the sour cream that I was talking about that we infused with some caramelized onions.
Wow.
As I make noise, I'm gonna pass those down.
What do you usually pass?
Doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter.
I've got a twofer here.
Go for it.
There we go. I'm sorry guys, but there it is.
There it is.
And I'm gonna stab a frittata.
I
Well,
totally just knocked Brian out of
No,
I
I'm
want
good.
a
I'm good.
spinach one. I'm going for spinach. Brian's going sweet.
I am.
You going sweet?
Yeah.
He's going sweet.
So we spoke earlier about if somebody has a bad day, or you just need a comfort food, or it just needs to happen really quickly. This is a great option for dinner. But to me, it's a great option even for birthdays or whatever special occasion.
Birthday, special occasions, just for fun, just
for fun.
because.
That's right.
Breakfast for dinner is always a good time.
Breakfast for dinner is always good.
It's usually quick.
It is usually quick, so you can do Friday night, breakfast for dinner, and game night or something. Play cards with the kids or whatever. Turn the TV off, put the cell phones down. Hey, Jenny.
I did that.
Oh, we have a surprise guest.
Hi!
Just in time.
What's on the menu?
We have breakfast for dinner.
Okay.
So we have our frittatas that we make for pop-up Saturdays.
Nice.
And we have spinach and feta, we have sausage, egg, and onion, and we have broccoli and cheddar. We have a mix of those. And we have potato latkes with sour cream that's been infused with caramelized onions.
What?
And we have quick microwave pre-cooked redless potatoes that's home fries.
Yes.
So we have two different kinds of potatoes. And then we have crepes. We have savory crepes and we have sweet crepes, including crepes Suzette.
Wow. That sounds amazing.
Doesn't it?
It tastes really amazing.
And Brian's reliving his childhood.
Yeah.
With what?
Wow, what is it?
Mascarpone and fresh jelly on the crepe.
Oh.
Fresh jelly.
All rolled up and naughty.
Well,
Yeah, I said it.
that's in this, you can do anything in this kitchen.
So for the sweet crepes, we have strawberries, we have mascarpone, we have the blueberry jelly, we have seedless raspberry jam, and we have bananas if somebody would like them. And then we have the crepes Suzette with a cleaned up variation of it. No bourbon, no brandy, no cognac, but it's a sugary orange sauce with segmented oranges that you can put on a sweet crepe too. And if somebody likes, we do have whipped cream too.
And chocolate sauce.
And chocolate sauce.
And chocolate sauce. Not, we didn't make real whipped cream tonight.
And I feel bad that I'm gonna have to eat
Grab and go.
run.
Dine and dash.
I'm digging
Dine
it.
and
We
dash.
will back up and let you grab your plate,
Yeah.
Jenny.
Well, why don't we wrap it up and say thank you so much for joining us. That's episode 10, done and dusted. I hope you're inspired. I hope you try something new and enjoy it. And thank you so much for joining us. We are going to be filming some fall soups later on, probably in early October maybe.
Few weeks, we're gonna do soups with a harvest fall theme, and
Harvest
then we're
fall
gonna
theme.
do a holiday
A holiday
episode.
episode. So stay tuned. Come back and visit.
Join us again.
Yay.
Bye.
Good night.